You do know that you have choices, right? You have choices, so stop being mad. Really, stop being mad. You have choices. And if this is your first time stopping by my YouTube channel, I want to say hello and welcome. So glad that you were able to stop by and check me out. So I'm happy about that. But I want to get to the topic at hand. Why are you walking around here mad? Or why are you walking around with a chip on your shoulder? Or why are you walking around, with all of this negative emotion stirred up in you because you are mad? And don't say I'm not mad. Or you can say it if you want to. But the truth of the matter is you're not happy. All right. So however way you want to describe it, the truth of the matter is you are not happy. And I am not trying to project anything on you. You know if you're happy or not. So you evaluate and assess whether you're happy or not. I'm just saying, ordinarily, when people are not happy, they are something else. They are in some other state of mind. They are in some other type of mood. You understand what I'm saying? So the point I want to make is that you have choices. When do you not have choices? So as I started coming into 2025, back in 2024, pretty much in December, I started thinking about some things. And I started thinking about the fact that I have some choices. Now, that's not a new revelation for me, but sometimes I don't care how seasoned one may be. Sometimes we need to get back in alignment, or sometimes we just need to shake some things off, clear out ourselves, clear out our minds, and clear out our energy, clean that stuff out, And I tell you the truth, if you want to know the honest truth, the last couple of months of 2024, I would say the last half of 2024, basically, give or take a month or so. The political vitriol was so bad that it just became caustic. This is not for us to get into a political discussion, because however way you choose to show up in your life, whatever value system you embrace or align with, that's on you. That has nothing to do with me. And it has nothing to do with this post or this video. So don't come for me in the comments trying to defend this, that, or the next thing, because that's not what this is about. We all have values. And so you have to choose for yourself how you leverage your values to make decisions about things that are important to you. And that's another video. But for me, I am by nature a defender, and I am by nature a fighter. When I say fighter, I don't necessarily mean physical violence. I mean, I fight for other people. I stand up for other people. I take up for folk, And I don't know where I get this from. I don't know who gave me, the badge to go about doing this stuff. I didn't ask for it per se, but I find that I inherently want to defend people. And that may have a lot to do with some of my life's path. I never really felt like people stood up for me in many instances, but I will stand up for people. If someone is doing someone wrong, I am going to speak on it. I do not like injustice. So I speak very boldly and confidently about some injustices that I observe. But that's another video. So with that being said, I allowed myself, you see how I'm taking accountability? You see how I'm taking accountability? I allow myself to be pulled away from my peace. I allowed myself to be pulled away from my peace. And before I realized it, I had all of this tension built up inside of me to feel and felt like I had to fight almost every battle that I witnessed. And I can tell you right here and right now, that is exhausting. And the thing about it is, there's some things I just cannot help but speak on. But then there are some things that God reminded me, that's not your battle to fight. God kept telling me that, y'all. God kept telling me that is not your battle to fight. So I had to come to myself, and it took some weeks to start letting things go and releasing that negative energy and that tension and giving myself permission to embrace my freedom of choice. And nobody gets to take that away from me, and nobody gets to take that away from you. You, my friend, you have choices. So whether you are mad, offended, disgruntled, despondent, ready to give up and throw in the towel, or whether you are just indifferent, you just don't care anymore, which I can get that sometimes, you have choices. So stop being mad, or stop being those things, those other things. And here's where I want us to go with this. So everything about what you're thinking, what you're saying, what you are doing, your reaction to the world around you, external things that are happening, you have a choice. You and me, we have choices. And I learned something a long time ago by a friend, because I'm always wanting trying to defend and ward off the bad actors. So a friend of mine said, Stephanie, you have to stop being reactive and be proactive. And that was years ago, but it stuck with me. And it made me really think about, how am I being reactive? How are my responses being reactive? How are my emails being reactive? My text messages being reactive? My body language being reactive? I had to have a conversation with myself. And I had to hold the mirror up and look at myself and say, hey, is this the way you want to live? And the answer was absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because we have choices in terms of how we want to react to things. Like, we have choices in, do I want to be calm? Do I want to think through what I'm going to say next? Do I want to disregard what was said and done? Or do I always want to be in a fight, flight, or freeze mode? That's just not sustainable. It's just not sustainable. So we have choices to decide whether we're going to ignore something and not give it credence. I started saying, you know what? I'm not even giving energy to that. I am not giving energy to anything that takes me away from the energy that I love. If something compromises my peace and messes around with my energy, it's my responsibility to nip it in the bud. To nip it in the bud. And it's your responsibility too. We don't get to hand off our power to someone else. We are responsible for what we think and what we say, what we do, how we respond, what we write, what we hear. Now, we cannot go about, sometimes we hear stuff we're not supposed to be hearing, right? And, you have a choice of whether or not you're going to let that sink in and set up a house in your mind, or you can disregard it. And let me tell you, this is some next level self-mastery. This is some next level self mastery, because when you start mastering yourself and governing yourself in a way that not only brings you peace and harmony and alignment with the divine, in alignment with the people around you, you start impacting the world. Note to self, you start impacting the world. But if you and I are not paying attention to how we are allowing our energy and handing our power or out to some other people, then we will always be ready to duke it out. And who really has time for all of that? Seriously, who has time for all of that? And you'll know that people are going to do you wrong. You know that people are going to cross boundaries. You know that people will take liberties they should not take, right? So don't be surprised. Do not be surprised. What did you expect? So my charge to you is to really be thinking about your choices. Let me tell you, can I just make it plain? Let me just make it plain. I'm going to use myself as an example. I choose joy. Yes, I choose joy. And one of the reasons why I choose joy, going back to my faith values, the scripture said, Jesus said, if you remain in my joy, your joy will be full. Love that scripture. If you remain in my joy, your joy will be full. For the joy of the Lord is my strength. So I choose joy. What do you choose? Your turn. What do you choose? Okay. You choose what works for you. I choose joy. I choose peace. Peace has been my mantra for 20 some years now. I've been saying peace. I've written peace and love on so many things because I protect my peace at all costs. I preserve my peace. And sometimes when I slip, and I sometimes do, I have to tell myself, you let that person get inside your head. And they're not paying a dime of rent. Come on now. Come on now. Come on now. Not paying a dime of rent and living all inside your head. Nope. Kick them out. Evict them. Evict the thought of them. Evict the offense. And those are some of the things that I've had to learn. So I'm telling you and sharing with you some of the things that I myself had to not only learn, but put into practice. And I'm still on a journey of mastering it. Like not being offended. And I think it was Wayne Dyer says, don't be offended because you recreate the same energy that offended you in the first place. Don't be offended because you recreate the same energy that offended you in the first place. That changed my life. In 2011, that changed my life, because I could not for the life of me understand why would people be so offensive. And you know what? When I read that, I said, oh, okay, let me work on that. And so when I did get offended or I allow myself to be offended, I would say, don't be offended, lest you create the same energy that offended you in the first place. Peace is always available for us. Peace is the way. Peace is the way. And peace and offense do not go together. Do you understand what I'm saying? They don't go together. So you have to learn how to not be offended. And then in the 4 agreements, which, honey, put the icing on the cake for me, don't be offended is one of the 4 agreements. I think it's the number 2. Don't be offended. What people do has nothing to do with you. What people do has nothing to do with you, right? So I had to learn that when people acted in a certain way that I felt was toward me, I would say to myself, what a person does has nothing to do with me. What a person does has nothing to do with me. I started releasing them to their own vices and their own way, how they wanted to do things in their own way, how they wanted to speak and show up and put all that negative energy. I just removed myself. Because what I am not going to do is be in the company of people that are consistently putting out negative energy. I will stage left in a New York minute because I don't have time for that. And I love peace and I love being joyous and happy. But there are some people, they're still working on themselves. So you have to give them grace. You offer them grace. You get to be who you want. You get to show up as you choose. You get to pick those things to your liking. It has nothing to do with me. And once I got that, I stopped being offended. Now, there are some people who cross boundaries, conversational boundaries, and think that they can speak to me any kind of way. Even if whether it's verbal or whether it's through an email, a passive aggressive, nice, nasty kind of stuff. I'll stop there unless I get into a whole different conversation about certain folk, right? But I choose joy and I choose peace. So I can recreate the same energy, or I can say, you know what? Let me choose the way of peace. I love peace. Peace is my BFF. Well, God is my BFF, but peace comes with that. It's one of the fruit of the Spirit. So, my friends, I'm just saying, going forward in 2025, stop being mad, stop being offended, stop being hurt, stop being, intimidated. Stop all of that. Put it to a halt. Put it to a halt and start making some choices. I choose to remove myself from this environment. I choose to sing. I choose to dance. I choose to plant. I choose to go make someone else's day. I choose to just have fun. I choose to be me. And you just keep on shining right where you are. And don't allow anyone to come into your space and disrupt your peace. Because why? You've got choices. All right. So have yourself a good day. Have a great weekend. And I'll see you tomorrow. Be sure to subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. Put a comment in if you have a comment to share. And take care. And I'll see you again. Bye now.